We built Webhound to align with how we actually acquire knowledge and do research. And the first step in that was building a deep research tool where quality scales with budget, because not all research is valued equally, because not all decisions are of equal value. However, one issue is that we still considered research quite standalone or static, right? Each one prompt could generate a structured data set or a research report, but that's not the reality of research. Research is compounding, research is evolving, right? So that's what we've built this newest version of Webhound around. If you're familiar with Webhound, you know that we can generate a well-researched report or a structured data set, which you can still do from here, but we also have an agent that acts as a research assistant. Now, this is useful for several reasons. We can ask questions about all the research we've done. We can have it spawn new research sessions, suggest research sessions, and much more. For this to work, the research needs to live somewhere. So Webhound now has a file system and workspace where we can put our own information in and also save previous research. So let's dive in with the use case that I've been using Webhound for a lot recently, and that is Claude skill creation. So I want to make a product launch video, and I'm interested in using Remotion or some sort of programmatic way of making videos. So I want to create a Claude skill for that. What I'm going to ask Webhound to do is find the best practices in product launch videos that do well and use that to create a Claude skill for making these videos with Remotion. I'm also giving it the Remotion skill that already exists online and the skill creator skill from Claude. Now, I haven't linked that. What I'm going to do is pop over to my Finder, and I can just drop my skill either directly into the prompt or into the associated Remotion folder. So I'm just going to attach it directly to the prompt here. Now, I do a lot of different types of research, and I don't want Webhound to get confused and go into all sorts of different topics that I've researched. So I'm going to scope this session specifically to my Remotion folder. So let's send it off. So the first thing Webhound is going to do is propose a plan. So the first step is to analyze the best practices, then to, based on the prior research, create the Claude skill, and then based on those two, create a structured data set of relevant Claude skills. For any of these, I can change the budget based on how in-depth I want the research to be, and I can change the model. If everything looks good, I'm just going to start the pipeline. Now we can see that Webhound is currently on step 1 of creating this report. We can click through to view that report, and we can see its research plan, any sources that it may be looking at, and then the chat where we can see all of the tool calls. And this is useful because if Webhound goes off the rails in any way, it's not using the lens I want it to use or not looking at the sources I want, I can just stop it right here and I can give it that feedback and it'll course correct. So let's go back to the overall session. This pipeline will take a little bit to run, but at any point in this process, I can ask clarifying questions about what's already been written, and I can spawn new related research plans. Since Webhound can execute code as well, I can ask it to analyze existing data sets, etc. This is also super useful for plugging in your own data sources via API. Now that the pipeline is finished, we can do any number of things. We can propose some follow-up research, we can ask questions, and obviously we can view the completed session. So let's view this completed data set real quick. These are all the skills I asked for. I could pop into the chat and say, give me 100 more, or I could run one of these suggested research sessions. One thing I might want to ask is, how can I use this research to actually create a good launch video? It'll search through all the research it thinks it's relevant and answer my question. Now that I've run this research, I could go back into the top level and I could create new research that builds off of this research and pull over the research to reference it. And as I use Webhound more and more, it'll learn about my preferences, which you can see and edit by clicking Show Memories and on the Memories file. So that's it. Happy researching.